Hello, everyone. My name is Andy Rayburn. I'm an international admissions officer at Carleton University. I've been with Carleton for quite a while, and I'm a two-time graduate of Carleton. And I've also had the privilege of not only processing applications for students that apply, but I also am able to travel around the world. I typically spend 1 month in India each year, 1 month in Southeast Asia. I just recently came back from the Caribbean, and I've been to the Latin America and Middle East and other parts of the world as well. So it's a great privilege to have you here today. I'm happy to introduce this session on admissions and how to apply. And now I do want to point out that this session is focused on undergraduate admissions. If you are interested in graduate admissions, my colleagues and I would be delighted to connect you with our counterparts in our Faculty of Graduate and Postdoctoral Affairs, and they would be able to assist you with any graduate related queries such as master's and PhD programs. So without any further ado, I'll begin. I do want to explain that the entire application process is quite transparent. So there's no guesswork involved. We are very clear with what we require of you in terms of making a decision on your application. You don't need to stress about it too much in comparison to the application process of other places. And there are two ways to apply for admission. Everything is done online. You will apply online. You will also upload your documents, your transcripts, and course descriptions, if necessary, directly to your application through our application portal, Carleton 360. And unless there's a specific need for it, there's no need to send original documents by mail or by courier. So everything is done online. You'll even access your offer of admission online if you are fortunate enough to receive an offer of admission. Now, the main way international students apply for admission if they're only considering Carleton University is to simply apply directly to Carleton through our Carleton 360 website. This has an application fee of 100 Canadian dollars, which is like 75 US dollars. And it gives you the opportunity to apply to two different undergraduate degree programs, or you can select two different majors within one degree as you wish. This is the best option if you are an international student and you are only applying to Carleton. It's also the more economical option than, say, the Ontario University's Application Centre. But if you wish to apply to Carleton through the Ontario University's Application Centre, you're certainly welcome to. This is a great way to apply if you're also considering other universities within the province of Ontario, and there are 24 different institutions to choose from. If you are applying as an international student through the OUAC, you'll find that the application costs 166 Canadian dollars. And if you want to add more program choices to a particular institution or add additional universities, there are surcharges on top of that. You may also encounter a section where it asks you if you wish to submit your transcripts to Carleton University via WES, the World Education Services. I want to make it very clear that it's not necessary for you to do that. You're able to upload your documents directly to your application. And I think that the WES services can be pricey, potentially. So I would encourage you to simply provide your documents directly to Carleton through our application portal. So which application is the right one for you? As I mentioned, international students have either option. You could apply through the Ontario University's Application Centre if you wish, or you could apply directly through our website. Now, if you happen to be a Canadian citizen or permanent resident, perhaps living abroad, then the only option available to you is to apply through the Ontario University's Application Centre. I do encourage you to take your time through the entire application process. We often get emails from students who have made an error in indicating what institutions they've studied at. They may have left certain fields blank, perhaps their activities when they're not studying as a full-time student. So please be patient, take your time. It's a really easy application process, and I want you to double check everything before you actually submit it. In particular, I want you to double check your email address because this is going to be the primary way that we are going to be communicating with you. Once we receive your application, we will notify you by email that your application has been received. And also, when you're applying for admission, take note of the ranking of your program choices. When we are processing your application, we typically will make a decision on your first choice first, and then indicate your potential eligibility for your second or third choice. So I do encourage you when you are applying to indicate your program choices by your preference. That would be easiest. So once your application has been submitted, we will reach out to you by email to provide you with your Carleton application ID. And also, we'll let you know how you can go about accessing your application online to monitor it, as well as how you can upload documents directly to your application. Please check your email regularly within the 48 hours to 72 hours after your application has been submitted. If you don't see an email from us, I encourage you to check your junk mail or spam folder in case the email has inadvertently been delivered there. I also encourage you to take note of our emails because we will notify you if there are any changes to your application. For example, you may feel that you have submitted all that you need to submit by providing us with your transcripts, but we may follow up to ask you for more detailed information, perhaps a course description for a particular prerequisite course, or perhaps we'll ask you for an explanation of any activities you may have done since you last studied as a full-time student. So I do encourage you to take note of any emails that you receive from us. But of course, we're always accessible to you in case you have any questions. When it comes to admissions, we're going to be focusing on your academic performance. That is, frankly, the best indicator of your likelihood for success in the university. And when we are processing your application, we take a very pragmatic approach, a very sensible approach to how we make admission decisions. So, for example, if you are in high school, we will not be looking at your overall grade point average for all of your studies from grade 9 through to grade 12. Instead, we're going to be focusing on the higher level of education. So your grade 12 year, your final year of high school, or perhaps grade 11 year if that's where we may find some prerequisites in some situations. We will also potentially consider you for credit towards your degree program if you happen to be coming from the British system doing A-levels or perhaps the 2-unit CAPE, or if you're in the International Baccalaureate, we'll consider you for credit for your higher level subjects as well, as we do for AP courses in the American system or the French Baccalaureate. Now, I'm sure you'll have a lot of questions regarding the prerequisites, the required courses for your particular area of interest. And there is a very useful tool on our website that you can use to cross-reference your area of interest with your curriculum so that you have very detailed information on the courses that we require to admit you to your particular area of study. As an example, you may be interested in a business program. So at Carleton, we typically require mathematics for business. If you're interested in engineering, we'll be looking for physics and mathematics and chemistry as well. And you can always check on this particular website. You'll be able to look up, for example, the Caribbean Cape to see which math courses we require, as well as at what level chemistry must be at if you're interested in related programs. I do encourage you to take note of this application deadline. Now, our applications are open now, and you're certainly welcome to apply for admission right now to the fall term of 2023. But this particular application deadline is simply for the application itself. A lot of students get worried that you may not have all of the information at the time you're submitting the application. Don't worry about that. You're able to apply for admission now. We will then be able to notify you of what we require in order to make a decision. There are some programs that have an earlier application deadline, and they are listed here. So if you're interested in architectural studies or humanities or industrial design or information technologies major of interactive multimedia and design, or perhaps you're interested in music or social work, all of these programs have an earlier application deadline of March the 1st. And this is because there is additional information required to consider you for admission to these special programs. As an example, architectural studies and industrial design and interactive multimedia and design will require a portfolio. The Bachelor of Music will require an addition to be scheduled for admission to that program with our music department prior to March the 1st. A little word of advice. I do encourage you to submit your application nice and early and also submit your additional information nice and early as well. Sometimes students see a deadline of March the 1st and they think, okay, so that means I should apply on February 28th. I was a big procrastinator when I was in high school, and I don't want you to fall into that trap because I want you to be able to actually not miss any deadlines. So please keep in mind that it's important to apply for admission early. If you are applying to these special programs, it is also worth noting that although we make decisions on a rolling basis for the vast majority of our degree programs, these particular unique programs, you will not receive a decision on them until after that deadline has passed. Now, we may require the results of an English language proficiency test. Carleton is an English speaking institution. All of our classes are taught in English, and we may ask you to provide us with an English language proficiency test if you are coming from a non English speaking country. However, there may be situations in which you are eligible for a waiver of this requirement, based perhaps on the number of years you've been studying in an English medium institution. And we're always happy to discuss your individual circumstances with you. But typically, if you're coming from a British system, as an example, and you've done the O levels or IGCSE, and then you've continued on with the A levels, we will likely not ask for a language test in that situation. So if you're eligible for admission, you will receive an offer of admission electronically. The offer of admission will indicate whether you have been admitted conditionally or unconditionally. Typically, if you are still enrolled in school, the offer will most likely be conditional upon your final grades. The offer of admission is accessed through the website, through our Carleton 360 portal, and it will also indicate whether you have been offered a guaranteed place to live in residence or a scholarship or both. It will also indicate whether you have been awarded any credit for any predicted higher levels in the International Baccalaureate or for any predicted A-level results that you may have provided to us. Or if you have any AP exam results that you provided earlier in the application cycle, we may have awarded you credit based upon those scores as well. International students will also receive an additional document that will help you to apply for your study permit. This is called a student information for a study permit, and it contains all the important information and criteria that you need to provide in order to apply for your study permit. You'll also notice that there are additional links. So this may include instructions on how you can satisfy any conditions associated with your offer of admission. It may also include information on registering for your classes and things of that nature. So I do strongly encourage you to read through everything very thoroughly. You typically have quite a while to make a final decision on the application, on the admission decision. So I do encourage you to take your time, read through everything, discuss it with your family, and then you can make a final decision at a later date. Now, there will be a deadline by which you must respond to the offer of admission, and you should take note of that deadline as well. It varies depending on the time of year you're being admitted, but I do want you to take note of that. It's also worth noting that Carleton does not require any financial deposit at the time you are accepting the offer of admission. So there's not going to be any financial obligation at the time you accept our offer of admission. So I would encourage you to accept the offer so that you can secure your place in the program. Now, I mentioned earlier that we will automatically consider you for entrance scholarships. Here you see an example of the entrance scholarships that we offer at Carleton University. We also have other scholarships that we can provide in some situations. Some come from the faculty or the department to which you are being admitted, or you may be able to apply for even more valuable scholarships called prestige scholarships, which I'll mention in just a moment. Now, these scholarships, these automatic entrance scholarships, are equally available for international students or domestic students alike. The admission average you see here is based upon the Canadian average. So this might seem a little bit confusing if you're coming from, for example, the International Baccalaureate or the British A-levels. So we will convert the grading system of your curriculum to the equivalent at Carleton. And if you're not unsure about any of this, we're always happy to help you navigate all of that. You can simply reach out to us by email if you wish to do so. So the other scholarship I mentioned is called Prestige Scholarships, and these are our most valuable awards. They're also our most competitive awards. They are based primarily on your academic merit, as well as your extracurricular activities. So if you've shown leadership, for example, in a particular area, perhaps you've been a tutor, to a younger student who's struggling in mathematics or physics and you've been tutoring them, that's something that you can share with us. So the extracurriculars you've done earlier throughout your high school studies, those extracurricular activities are not wasted. They will help you to be a very well-rounded person, of course, and help you to be successful in your transition to university life. But they will also help you potentially to receive one of these very prestigious scholarships. The maximum value of the Prestige Scholarship for international students is the equivalent of full domestic tuition. So that can be quite significant, especially if you're applying for a program like computer science or engineering. Now, there is a very firm application deadline for these particular awards, and that is March the 1st of each year. So I do encourage you to apply for that particular award nice and early. And this is another reason why you should apply for admission early, so that you do not miss out on the opportunities such as this. So just to review everything, everything is done online. So you'll be able to submit your application online. You'll be able to upload your academic documents directly to your application through our Carleton 360 portal. And if we require an English language test, you'll be able to provide that test result to us as well. Decisions tend to be made on a rolling basis, and we're going to be focusing on your academic performance. That means that we do not normally require any SAT or ACT tests. We do not require any essays or personal statements either, nor do we typically require any letters of recommendation from your teachers or counselors. So hopefully you'll find that the entire application and admission process when you're applying to Carleton to be much more straightforward and pragmatic and a lot less stressful than you may find if you're applying to other institutions elsewhere in the world. Once you receive an offer of admission, you'll see that you've been admitted to your program, ideally, or if you have not been admitted to your program, we will be able to consider you for an alternate program, especially if you're coming directly from high school. The offer of admission will indicate whether or not you've received any scholarships, or automatic scholarships that is, or if you've been guaranteed a place to live in residence, which we typically offer to students coming directly from high school as long as we are offering admission before the middle of May. You will then be able to accept the offer and begin the study permit process so that you can begin to plan your travel to come to Ottawa. And once again, we do not require any financial deposit or anything like that at the time you are accepting the offer of admission. You simply click, yes, I wish to accept the offer, and then your place in the program is secured. So it's really quite straightforward. I do thank you a lot for participating. I know this has been a lot of information and it's probably information overload for you. So you're welcome to follow up with me. Here's my email address. You can always connect with me to ask any questions about this particular session. Myself and my colleagues were very accessible to you, and we want you to reach out to us. We want to engage with you. We want to chat with you, and we want to alleviate any stress you may have about the entire application and admission process. Thanks so much for joining. Take care.
Hey, my name is Cedric. I'm an international student from Lagos, Nigeria. I was born and raised there, and I go to Carleton University. I'm a third-year Bachelor of Commerce student with a concentration in marketing and a minor in economics. Right now, as you can see, I'm at the airport because I am going to Rotterdam to represent Carleton at the 2022 Broker competition. And it's all expense paid by Sport, and it's very exciting. I'm really excited to compete and to go alongside my teammates. Sports is a fantastic business school, and it's very welcoming, and I've had an amazing experience so far. So if you're considering Sport, it's fantastic. You should definitely come to it. If you're considering Carleton in general, you should definitely consider applying. Thank you so much.